Tips to write your introduction, analytical form. Hello again. By now, you have elaborated your outline and you have received feedback from me and your classmates. Now, it's time to write your introduction. Remember, you do not have to incorporate all our opinions, but you definitely have to strengthen your weak points. Before we start, here are some important general parameters. Font, Arial, size 12 points, spacing 1.5 points. It must contain the problem in blue, the ethical relevance in purple, and the structure of the paper in green. And it must be between 300 and 350 words. Let's begin. There are many ways to write an introduction. Here, we are going to offer you a possible model. For purposes of this video, once again, we are going to deal with process automation and with a sample outline that you can find at Schoology. However, remember to have your own outline nearby since we will work with it. First, let's make clear what is an introduction. We all know that an introduction is generally the first part of the text, but what does it contain? Well, the basic information of your topic and the points that you're going to develop through your paper. For example, imagine that you are organizing a surprise birthday party for Christian. When you meet your friends, you do not start telling them, "Please, bring the cake," even if you know you would like to have one. Instead, you say an introductory phrase like, "Let's start planning Christian's party." This logic is more or less the same in a text. In an introduction of an ethics paper, the reader must know 1. What are you going to speak about? 2. Which specific dilemma are you going to deal with and why is it important? And 3. How are you going to develop your paper? Which steps are you going to follow? These 3 questions can be organized accordingly in 3 paragraphs. So, let's start with question 1, paragraph 1. What are you going to speak about? In this paragraph, you have to state your topic. Try to be creative. You can offer an anecdote or a small historical background. For example, in 2014, X Factory substituted Y men for machines. An imaginary panorama. For example, imagine that one day you go to work and in your place there is no longer your desk and chair, but a machine. A definition. Process automation is, however, if you choose this option, avoid using dictionaries. Try to find the definition in a journal article or in a book, or a combination of them. So, our first paragraph could be: since the consolidation of modern states and capitalist economies in the 18th century, development has commonly been measured in terms of accumulation. A country moves forward if its gross domestic product increases. Being here too and part of this conception, enterprises value their development in the same terms. They move forward if their production and revenues increase. In order to achieve this, a lot of enterprises have turned to process automation. Although its implementation is expensive, in a medium-term period, this system enables to reduce the workforce and to make production more effective. In this case, we did a historical overview of the relation between economic development and business development, and we mentioned how our topic is related to business matters. Please pause this video and write the first part of your introduction. Remember, you can mention an anecdote, an imaginary panorama, a definition, or a combination of them. Then you can continue watching this video. The second paragraph has to answer the question, which specific aspect are you going to deal with and why is it important? This is in fact the problem and the ethical relevance that you already wrote in your outline. In the case of process automation, our problem was the negative social impact of process automation is that workmen lose their jobs and reallocation is not always possible. This entails a social problem, for it is not only the worker who is affected, but also his/her family, wife, husband, children, and in some cases his/her parents. And our ethical relevance read: the implementation of process automation puts at risk some human rights, such as the right to work, the right to protection against unemployment, and the right to a standard of living. Nowadays, it would be almost impossible to stop the technological development of industries. However, it would also be important to guarantee the inclusion of workmen in society. And they suggested us to consider also families. Now, when writing your introduction, you do not have to transcript these texts literally. You have to use connectors and perhaps introduce other phrases. For example, in this perspective, process automation is. At this panorama, we can infer that the implementation of process automation, or therefore, process automation puts at risk. Now, for our paper on process automation, we wrote a phrase that points out that something might be wrong. However appealing process automation might seem in economical terms, we could actually be swimming in murky waters. Then, we also quote a specialist to give more credibility to our ideas. According to Martin Ford, an expert on job automation and founder of a software development firm based in Silicon Valley, in a near future, 75% unemployment will be caused by automation. Afterwards, we stated the problem. Indeed, if less operators are needed, then the natural step is to dismiss them. Thus, automated systems have a negative social impact, for when a workman loses his job, a whole family is affected and social poverty may boost. Remember that the problem should be in blue. Immediately after, we mention the ethical relevance. The implementation of process automation puts at risk some human rights, such as the right to work, the right to protection against unemployment, and the right to a standard of living. Notice that in the last sentence of our paragraph we referred additional information. I don't deny that technological development is important. Nonetheless, human development is equally important and, regarding Ford's forecast, it is urgent to guarantee the inclusion of workmen and their families in society. Don't forget to write the ethical relevance in purple. Please pause this video and write a second paragraph of your introduction using your problem and ethical relevance. Don't forget to use colors. Then you can continue watching this video. The third paragraph should answer the question, how are you going to develop your paper? Which steps are you going to follow? Thus, you have to offer an overview of the causes of the problem and the solution that you wrote in your outline. In the case of process automation, the causes were lack of regulation and educational inequality. The ethical solution was the creation of a law that forces enterprises to have a minimum of employees and a high technical education so future workmen can face process automation. Now, when writing your paper, you do not have to enumerate the causes and solutions. It is not a numbered list 1, 2, 3. You should narrate them. A tip is to imagine that you're telling a story to someone. Going back to the case of Christian's surprise party, you are not going to tell your friends, place, hour, food, cake. It is more likely that you tell them, first, let's define where and at what time we will do the party, so then we can choose the type of food and who brings what. It's the same logic for your paper. In this sense, our third paragraph could be as follows. First, a general phrase like, in this paper, I will deeply analyze the negative social impact of process automation. Then, a summary of the causes. In the first part, I will highlight the lack of regulation and educational inequality as its main causes. Afterwards, a summary of the solution. In the second part, based on a Kantian perspective, I will suggest how to reduce unemployment caused by process automation and how to strengthen social equality through education. Since this is the structure of your paper, remember it should be in green. Please pause this video and write the third paragraph of your introduction using your causes and solution. Don't forget to use colors. Then you can continue watching this video. We are almost done. The final step is to write the title at the top. And that's it. So, here is the summary of what you have done. In the first paragraph, you told us your topic in a creative way. In the second paragraph, you stated your problem and the ethical relevance. Finally, the third paragraph is an overview of the causes of the problem and its solution. Make sure that the font is Arial 12 points and the spacing 1.5. If you need a sample of the complete introduction, you can find it at Schoology.